Welcome my dear students. So we have already discussed about supremum as well as infimum. So now we have to get a better understanding of the properties. So for that we define or we study a lemma which states that a number u is the supremum of a non-empty subset S of R if and only if u satisfies the condition S less than or equal to u for every S element of S, and V is any element other than which is less than u, there exists an element S such that V less than S less than u. So what does this lemma say? Consider a non-empty set S and u should be an upper bound or supremum of the set. Then clearly u is an upper bound of the set. So every element of the set should be less than or equal to u. So S should be less than or equal to u for every S element of S. And since u is a supremum, u should be the least among the set of all upper bounds. Which means that any number which is less than u cannot be an upper bound. So if we take an element V which is less than u, V cannot be an upper bound of the set. So you cannot say that every element of the set S should be less than or equal to V. There should exist at least one element which is greater than V and which is less than u, or in between u and V there should exist at least one element. If this is not true, then every element should be less than V. So V should be an upper bound. So V should be an upper bound which is less than u. In that case, u cannot be a supremum. So from the definition of supremum, we can clearly restate the conditions as if u is a supremum, then every element of the set should be less than or equal to u, or u should be an upper bound. And the second thing is any element which is less than u cannot be an upper bound of the set, or for any element which is less than u there should exist at least one element of the set S which is in between V and U. This is the basic concept of supremum. So based on the supremum and infimum, we can classify a non-empty subset of R into four different categories. As I have already told you, in general, supremum and infimum of a set need not be the element of the set. Based on that fact, we can classify our sets into four different categories. A set which contains both its supremum as well as infimum. Second thing is a set which contains its supremum but not its infimum. Third, a set which contains its infimum but not its supremum. And the last one is a set which contains neither its supremum nor its infimum. Consider open interval 1, 2. So 2 is an upper bound since every element of the open interval 1, 2 is less than 2. And every element of the open interval 1, 2 is greater than 1 as well. So 1 should be a lower bound and 2 should be an upper bound of the set. Clearly, any element which is less than 2 cannot be an upper bound of the set. If we take a 2 minus epsilon which is less than 2, clearly there should exist a real number in between 2 minus epsilon and 2 which belongs to the set open interval 1, 2. So any element which is less than 2 cannot be an upper bound. In other sense, 2 should be a supremum. Similarly, any element which is greater than 1 should not be a lower bound. So one should be the greatest lower bound or one should be the infimum. So in this case, 2 is the supremum and 1 is the infimum. And both 2 and 1 does not belong to the set. But in this case, 1 is the infimum and 1 belongs to the set. So this set has an infimum which belongs to the set. And in this case, open interval 1 close to 2, 2 is the supremum and 2 belongs to the set as well. So we can safely say that this set has a supremum but not infimum. In the sense that the supremum belongs to the set but infimum does not belong to the set. And in the last case, closed interval 1, 2, it contains both its supremum as well as infimum. So we can generalize this. If you take closed interval AB, where A and B are any two real numbers, its supremum is A and infimum is B, and both infimum and supremum belongs to the set itself. If you take open interval AB, the supremum is B and infimum is A, both A and B does not belong to the set. If you take open A close to B, the supremum is B which belongs to the set. If you take closed A open B, the infimum of the set A belongs to the set. So based on the fact the supremum and infimum, whether it belongs to the set or not, we can classify our sets into 4 different categories. A set which contains supremum as well as infimum, a set which contains supremum but not infimum, a set which contains infimum but not supremum, a set which does not contain supremum as well as infimum. So now let's state another condition which establishes the supremum or the supremum property. Let's state another way of defining a supremum of a set using epsilon, a small positive number. So the lemma which states that an upper bound U of a non-empty set S in R is the supremum of S if and only if for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists an S such that U minus epsilon less than S less than U. You can add U as well. The lemma states that if U is a supremum and epsilon is a positive number, then U minus epsilon, in between U minus epsilon and U, there should always exist an element of the set S. That element is small s. And if you take an epsilon and a real number U, so in between U minus epsilon and U, there is always an element S which belongs to the set, then we can say that U is a supremum. So in order for an element U to become a supremum, it is enough that for every epsilon greater than 0, there should exist an element S which is in between U minus epsilon and U. And in other words, for a real number U and an epsilon greater than 0, for every epsilon in between U minus epsilon and U, there is always an element in the set S. Then we can say that U is the supremum of the set. So in the first case, you have to prove that, you have to assume that U is the supremum, and then you have to prove that in between U minus epsilon and U there exists an element in the set. And in the second case, if for every epsilon greater than 0 there exists an element S such that which is in between U minus epsilon and U, we should be able to prove that U should be a supremum. So first assume that U is an upper bound of the set and satisfies the stated condition. That is, U minus epsilon less than S less than U for every epsilon greater than 0, which is the stated condition. So we have to prove that U is the supremum of the set. So we use the lemma which we have stated in the previous slide. So if we take V which is less than U and epsilon as U minus V, since V is less than U, this is clearly positive. Then epsilon is positive and U minus epsilon is clearly V. If you move this epsilon onto this side and V onto this side. So in between U minus epsilon and U, there is always an S by the condition. So V cannot be an upper bound of the set. Since U minus epsilon is V and in between V and U, there is always an element S which belongs to the set. So every number which is less than U cannot be an upper bound of the set. If you take an arbitrary element which is less than U, which is V, you can take epsilon as U minus V. So U minus epsilon less than S less than U by the stated condition. U minus epsilon is V, which means that there is always an element which belongs to the set which is greater than V. So V cannot be an upper bound. So in general, any number which is less than U cannot be an upper bound of the set. So U should be the least among the set of all upper bounds. So U should be the supremum of the set S. So we have proved the first condition. That is, if U is an upper bound which satisfies the condition, then U should be the supremum. Conversely, we assume that U is the supremum. We have to prove that U satisfies the condition. For that, we choose an epsilon which is greater than 0. So take U minus epsilon. U minus epsilon is less than U. Since U is the supremum, U should be the least among the set of all upper bounds. So any element which is less than U cannot be an upper bound of the set. Here U minus epsilon is less than U. So U minus epsilon cannot be an upper bound of the set S. So what does that mean? That means that in between U minus epsilon and U, there is always an element S which belongs to the set. Since U is an upper bound and U minus epsilon is not an upper bound, so in between U minus epsilon and U, there should always exist an element S which belongs to the set, which is the given statement. So in between U minus epsilon and U, there is always an element S which belongs to the set whenever U is the supremum. So if U is the supremum, we can safely assume that U satisfies U minus epsilon less than S less than U for every epsilon greater than 0. And if that condition is satisfies, then U should be the supremum. So this is some examples. First example says that if S1 is a finite set, that is A1, A2, etc. An, assume that it is arranged in some order, A1 less than A2 less than etc. An. So every element is less than or equal to An. So we can say that N is the supremum. Every element is greater than or equal to A1. So A1 should be the infimum. So in the case of a finite set, both the supremum as well as infimum belongs to the set itself. And in the case of 0, open closed interval 0, 1, 1 is the supremum which belongs to the set, 0 is the infimum which belongs to the set as well. And in the case of open interval 0, 1, we have already proved that 1 is the supremum which does not belong to the set, 0 is the infimum which does not belong to the set. So in general, for a given finite set, both the supremum and infimum belongs to the set. On a closed interval, both the supremum and infimum belongs to the set. And on an open interval, both the supremum and infimum does not belongs to the set. I hope you understood. Thank you.